Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. All praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who do well. Salutations to the Akim and the Four Winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect. The elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold. Shalom to you sisters, you Akwatium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, in meekness and in silence. Shalom, this your brother Aram Yahweh with the lesson. It's about Halloween. And I was thinking, because Halloween actually, the Lord is so merciful and so magnificent, man. I was just thinking about how Halloween landed on the Sabbath. So why all these people are out here, going, trick or treating or whatever, celebrating this wicked holiday or folly day, right? We were in doing lessons, reverence the Lord, doing your prayers, man, or just listening to lessons, or maybe just reading, going over a couple scriptures or whatever, So, but let me get to this. It says Druids celebrate Halloween. Do Druids celebrate Halloween? To commemorate the event, Druids built huge sacred bonfires where the people gather to burn corpse and animals. So some of these corpses are people, right? Because they didn't get into that, telling you that it's actually people. A lot of times those corpses are people and animals, right? As sacrifice to the Celtic deities, right? Which are these gods, these different gods. That technically that's what Halloween is all about, man. This you're worshiping other gods, and these gods about having sacrifice. That's why a lot of children come up missing during Halloween, and a lot of those are for these elites or even some of these lower level witches. They snatch them up and basically do these sacrifices with your children. Doing the celebration, the Celtics wore costumes typically consisting of animal heads. See, they were actually cut a real animal's head, not it's some little plastic thing or some things they sold to make it look like it. No, they were wearing actual real animal heads. Animal heads and skin, right? They're taking the skin off the animal and then, in some cases, the skin off of people and wearing the people's skin, right? In an attempt to tell each other's future, right? Which goes into witchcraft, right? So the whole thing is completely demonic, right? Yeah, Leviticus, which is the law, right? Because they were saying that they were wearing animal skins, animals' heads, right? Maybe, possibly, if they're going that kind of far, these people possibly could be wearing human skin, right? I heard something about them putting animals, fat, the fat of a person into the head of into a pumpkin and light it on fire, right? So it's possible, you know what I'm saying, when you're dealing with, but yeah, let's get into this, just going into, this is the law of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, because they're talking about reading futures and all the stuff that goes into familiar spirits. So regard not them that have familiar spirits, right? You know, them trying to tell each other's future, that's going into familiar spirits. Neither seek after wizards, right? You're doing witchcraft, wizards, to be defiled by them. I am Yahweh, your power, right? So Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai don't want you to be around anything dealing with familiar spirits. And that was Leviticus 19 and 31, but this Leviticus 20 and 6, which is going to give you, that was the law, like basically thou shalt not do, but then this is what happens if you do it. Leviticus 20 and 6. And the soul that turns after such as have familiar spirits and after wizards to go a whoring after them, I will even set my face against that soul. So you're going to be at enmity with the Lord. The Lord said he's going to be against you. He's not going to be for you, right? So you can't be wondering why good things are not happening to you after you're seeking familiar spirits, right? After you're trying to be in witchcraft, right? Or Wicca, right? Because they try to tell you Wicca. Oh no, we're good witches. It's Wicca, but you know Wicca actually is wicked too, right? Right. So, and I will cut him off from among his people. Sanctify yourselves, therefore, right, means separate yourself, sanctify, keep yourself cleansed, separate yourself from the way of this world. Therefore, and be ye holy, which basically means separate, for I am Yahweh your power, right?
Sean Anthony live here every Sunday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My website is flowofwisdom.com. We're live on the Genesis Communications Network. My guest this hour is Doc Marquis, former member of the Illuminati and the occult, and we're exposing the truth about Halloween. Doc, talk about these blood sacrifices and these children. You know, we've talked about this before on numerous shows, but really never expanded on it. And one of the things that we talked about, Doc, was the fact that where do all of these missing children go, and that they're being, incorporated into these rituals. You know, just expand on that, just because I really want people to hear the harsh truth of what's going on and what they are participating in blindly and unknowingly during this time of Halloween.
Before I do, Sean, I need to ask you one favor. Whatever you do, give me a call after this show.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
Now, if we go by the FBI reports, 1 million people on the average are missing every year. Now, about 950,000 eventually are found, okay? Or they're returned home, or, they were runaways. However, 50,000 are never accounted for. Guess where they end up as?
50,000.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, all this is because the Illuminati followed the 8 nights of human sacrifice, the same as the Druids, because they claim direct descendancy from the Druids. So they would practice and observe the same things. On the nights of Samhain, which was October 29th through the 31st, 1 week before that began, the Druid priests would send the Celtic tribal people out to the countryside and have them literally gather up tens of thousands of pieces of wicker reed. You know, the stuff you make wicker chair out of, or wicker table. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
It's a very strong, durable material, and once all the material had been gathered, the Druids would have a giant human effigy. It stood about 25 to 30 feet in height, known as the Wicker Man. It's called the Burning Man nowadays, but it was known as the Wicker Man. And within this giant effigy were multiple cages that they would eventually put the prisoners in. Now, after the opening rituals had been performed, before they would leave, the Druids would fill this cauldron with an apple cider-like substance and light it. They would then get in these wagons that was full of, hay, and they'd ride throughout the country, visiting various castles, mansions, palaces, places of nobility, places where people were wealthy and had that type of lifestyle. And they would walk up to the front door, they would literally bang on it, and guess what they would yell out?
What, trick or treat?
You got to believe it. And back then, this would send waves of terror to whoever heard it. Because, you see, the treat of this was, if you cooperated with the druid, you would take a household servant or a relative if you had to, and hand them over to be used as a human sacrifice offering. Once they were handed over, the druids would take out either a gourd or a turnip. Nowadays, we'd use a pumpkin. But it was previously hollowed out and filled with human fat. They would place it on the front doorstep, and they would light it. And every single person inside of that mansion, castle, what have you, would be protected from all the demonic forces that would be summoned that night. Now, here's the trick. If you did not cooperate with the druids, they would paint in human blood a six-pointed star with a circle on it that's known as a hexagram, and someone would usually die that night from the demonic forces that would be unleashed. Now, after traveling throughout the countryside for about 5-6 hours, the druids would return back to those stone circles like Stonehenge and so on and so forth, and they would place all their victims in the wicker man, or if they had extra, they would put them in small wooden cages. The ceremonies would continue, and then after a while, the druids would play one of their favorite games, and this is their idea of fun. They would take out about 10 or 12 of those prisoners, line them up in a row in front of that cauldron. They would take an apple, throw it in the middle of it, and tell the person, if you could get that apple out in between your teeth on the first try, we will cut your bonds and you will go home free. Now, would you do it, Sean?
If I was a prisoner?
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything else.
Right.
Yeah, I'd get that apple. I'd get that apple.
I want to remind you of one thing. Before they left, that cauldron was lit. And that apple-like substance has been boiling away for 5 to 6 hours now.
Oh, my God.
The boiling temperature of the liquid is 212 degrees Fahrenheit.
So you're sticking your head. You're sticking your head. Man, I'd kick it over.
Would you do it?
Man, I'd act like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, man, and I'd be the hero of the day. I'd kick that flaming water on them and somehow escape.
No, trust me, this thing was huge.
Oh, okay.
Huge.
All right.
No human being could lift it.
Okay, man. Wow.
But would you do it now?
Your face is going to burn off if I do it.
All right. Would you do it now?
I don't know, man.
Huh?
I don't know, Doc. I honestly don't.
Let's put it to you this way. If you didn't do it, you'd be beheaded. You see, this is a no-win situation. Wow. If you didn't do it, you would be beheaded. Now, if you tried for it, the medical ramifications are horrific. You're plunging your head probably up to your neck in 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Your flesh is literally melting off your head. And Lord only knows how much of the hearing would have been lost because that liquid is funneling into the ear or down the throat because you're trying to grab the apple. So who knows how much respiratory problem you have, let alone how much of it is seeping into your eyes or into your nasal cavity.
Okay. I get it, Doc. I get it. We can move forward because all that. So the person hopefully could be set free. Now, if he did get the apple, the Jews kept to their word. They cut their bonds and sent them home. But what type of life would they live? Yeah, their face would be
just... If they couldn't grab the apple on the first try, they'd be thrown on the ground and still be beheaded. And after the ceremony, towards the closing ceremony, those people who were in the wicker man, it would be consumed in fire, and they would all act, and they would all be sacrificed unto the god known as Samhain, who is the Celtic lord of the dead. Now, going by what you read in that...
It's this right here. It says, I will set my face against the man and against his family. Ooh, see? And that's what people are doing. Whole families are going out to celebrate Halloween, right? And like I was saying, I was thinking about it last night. Just so happened the Sabbath fell on Halloween. Well, normally, even if it's Halloween, and if it wasn't the Sabbath, I'll be, you would have been out, because it's not the Sabbath, so you'd have been out doing things, whatever, whatever. But this time it landed on Halloween, and so you were in the house. So I was thinking maybe the Lord is marking, hey, all these people for death, man. Hey, I am against his family, and will cut him off, and all that goeth a whoring after him to commit whoredom with the molech. See, and that's ultimately what you're doing. You're sacrificing your children unto molech by doing Halloween from among their people, man. And that's ultimately what you're doing, right? See, and as you see, most of these things these children are missing. And sometimes adults, but children are innocent, right? So it says Psalms 106:37, yea, they sacrifice their sons and their daughters unto devils. So ultimately, even if your son or daughter don't get kidnapped, at the same time, you're basically, you're sacrificing them still by sending them out there to go get candy and all this other stuff, right? That's still in a way of sacrificing them, right? Because the Lord is putting a mark on all, man, woman, and child to destroy you and shed innocent blood, and even the blood of their sons and of their daughters, whom they sacrifice unto idols of Canaan, right? Other deities, other gods in the land, and the land was polluted with blood, man. So the Lord said the only way to cleanse the land is by the blood of him that shedded it. So it means you got to be destroyed. Yeah, so this is the Washington Post. This is about 3 years old or so. Yeah, it was 2019. It says, here's why Halloween is the deadliest day of the year for children pedestrians. Right? This is not just talking about them being kidnapped. So on one hand they're getting kidnapped. On the other hand, they're getting basically killed by cars or injured by vehicles. So as pedestrians, children are 3 times more likely to be fatally injured by a car on the holiday, and the risk grows to 10 times for children. I don't like they saying kids, but I like to say children 4 to 8 basically years old, right? And so they got a little calendar. Halloween is the deadliest day of the year for children pedestrian, and basically they're showing you fatalities throughout the year for children, but Halloween, look how high it is, all the way up there. And that's so on top of it being, you're basically witches, familiar spirits, you're disobeying the Most High, right? On top of that, your kid could be either fatally injured by a car or kidnapped. It says missing and abducted children crime prevention and safety center, right? It says every 40 seconds a child goes missing or is abducted in the United States. Approximately and 40,000 children are reported missing each year, and the FBI estimates that between 85 to 90% of these are children, right? Yeah, so yeah, that lady's right. With the little crazy dance that she was doing. I mean, so far, that's the only thing I found besides this, because I'm trying to find something that says that uh, children go missing more on Halloween, and there's nothing. But I did see this. It says, does crime really spike on Halloween? Surprising facts about danger to your home. Right? So it says crime spikes on Halloween, but is that really true? Are you and your family actually in more danger on this day than any other? It all depends on who you are or where you live and who you ask. After all, anytime alcohol use increases as it does on Halloween as well as New Year's Eve, New Year's, and the 4th of July, and even Christmas, so do the chances of crime and accidents. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration found that on Halloween night between 2009 and 2013, over 40% of the deaths caused by vehicle invoked a driver who had been drinking. Parties where alcohol was served are common, and as harsh as it sounds, when the roads are wet and the streets are more crowded than usual, drunk drivers will hit and injure someone, or much higher. Okay. What's it? Skip down here. It says, however, it is not just violent crimes that increase on this holiday, which is talking about Halloween. So even violent crimes. So it's safe to assume that kidnappings increase too, because it's saying accidents. Now it's telling you crime increase on this holiday. Right, according to data acquired by Travelers Insurance in 2016, criminal related accidents claims spiked by 24% on October 31st. So yeah, it is safe to say, because like the lady was she's doing a little crazy dance. Nobody wants to talk about how kids are kidnapped, and I've been looking for things so I can do this lesson, and I can't find anyone speaking about the statistics. Now they talk about the statistics of year round, but to show that entire day, a lot of people are not trying to talk about that. But we know it's a lot more higher on Halloween, which, as they're saying, everything is. But it's the witches or the druids who are going to witchcraft. Basically, it's their New Year's Eve. It's their New Year's for witches. So everything increased. So they're putting all these witchcraft, these enchantments that's out there. Yeah. So this is Psalms chapter 106, verse 37, right? Talking about you Israelites in the wilderness, man. You know, the Lord was angry with you in the wilderness. So it says to overthrow their seed also among the nations, to scatter them in the land. So that's why we went into slavery, man. Serving all these different gods and all these different things. You know, even then in the wilderness, before we even got into the promised land, the Lord knew he was going to scatter us amongst all nations, man. Because how, just unthankful, ungrateful. You know, you're the only one that has a God, a true God. Everybody else, God is just idols. That thing is never going to talk or walk. It's never going to make anything move or happen. These people can't walk or breathe or eat without Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. But then they got nerves to try to be Lord over you, and now you got to go to them for one of all things, man. Right? It's your power that makes it possible. But now you got to be a tributary or a slave, tap dancing monkey to these elites, these small hats, and all these other nations, man. These Moabites, these Ammonites, these Ishmaelites, man. These Hamites, man, who's beneath you. It's bizarre, man. They joined themselves, right? And that's ultimately what you're doing in this society of America, dressing your kids up as ghouls and goblins, right? Joining themselves also to Baal Peor, right? Which goes into these deities, which the death, man. The Lord of Death, man. The Lord of the Flies, man. And ate the sacrifices of the dead, right? And that's ultimately what you're doing. Eating that candy. Those candies are sacrificed to the dead, man. Thus, they provoked him, right? Who you provoked? The Most High, Yahweh, and his Son, to anger with their inventions and their pledge break upon them. So I'm going to skip down. It says, yea, they sacrifice their sons and their daughters, right? Basically going into Molech, man. It's another way of sacrificing your children to Molech. Unto devils. Baal Peor is a devil, man. Esau Edom is a devil, man. And the innocent blood, right, which your children, they were just born, they didn't ask to be born, and then you're teaching them about Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, and you can go walk around on Halloween, right? Taking cane and just ridiculous, man. This is the day they can get kidnapped, murdered, hit by vehicles. All sorts of crazy things can happen to you, right? This is the time that crime spikes, right? Right, their sons and their daughters, whom they sacrifice unto idols of Canaan, right? Which goes back into them Hamites, man, worshiping them other gods, them familiar spirits, them deities, right? And the land was polluted with blood, man, and ultimately America is a land that's polluted with blood, which why it has to be destroyed. Thus were they defiled with their own works, and went a whoring with their own inventions, man. So this is 2 Kings 21. No, you can read the whole thing, but I'm just get to this point. The King Manasseh, he was young when he started as a king, and he ruled for some time, and he just got into wickedness right off the bat. Did everything opposite of what the prophets and all the other men before him, his father, which he was on the throne, he was a Judite. So Solomon went off in his last, and at the end of his life, but that was for a reason, to split the kingdom. But David never went off. You didn't want to be, and there were other righteous kings out of the lineage of David, but this king wasn't, and this is what he did, and that's he's an Israelite. So, and that's what you Israelites are doing, man. So it says, and he made his son to pass through the fire, and to observe times, and to use enchantments, and dwelt with familiar spirits, right? Going into witchcraft, the familiar spirits, enchantments, familiar spirits, wizards, right? He wrought much wickedness in the sight of Yahweh, and provoked him to anger. So there you go again. So any of this Halloween stuff, you're doing this thing, witchcraft, familiar spirits, demons, giving your children over to the dead, over to Molech, right? It's basically gonna anger the Most High. And I'm gonna end with this right here. Ezekiel 9:4, and Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, said unto him, go through the midst of the city, right? And everybody right now lives, well, Babylon the Great in itself is a big city in itself, because this is not really necessarily a country. It's more of a corporation, and this corporation is just one big city, which is Babylon, Mystery Babylon. That it's a city, but there's many cities within Babylon, right? And you all live in cities, towns, whatever, but you would say it's your city, right? It says, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, even you Israelite who phenotype may look like another nation, but your bloodline goes back to Israel, you're still considered Jerusalem, whether you know it or not. And you're required whether you know it or not. You might realize, man, why bad things always happen to me, or why it seems like if I do this, something happened to me, but other people can do all sorts of a manner of adultery and do this, do that, and nothing happens to them, but it always happens to you. Well, that might be because you're an Israelite, because the Lord is trying to correct you and bring you to his understanding before he destroys all of this. And then there's no way that you can get back to the Most High Yahweh Bashem Shai without being destroyed first. You know what I mean? So, and set a mark on the forehead of the men that sigh and cry, because ultimately that's what you should be doing. This is all abominable. This is all BS, man. Everything that does to do with America is abominable, man. Even the things that's not really all like, you know what I mean? That's why I really get into, they play sports and stuff. That's not bad. It's not a sin. But I try not to dive too much into all that stuff, man. Into the sports world, into the entertainment world, the actors and movie stars or rapper. I try not to get into that too much, man. I mean, you die, you get into it, you listen for entertainment and things, but I don't really know names, famous people. I may remember their face or something, but I don't know. Oh, that's so and so, and blah 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 blah, and her sister is blah blah blah. You know what I mean? And give like this whole rundown about who these people are. I don't know how to do that, but I watch movies. I've seen rappers or whatever, ball players, and I've even seen some people in real life, famous people. Boy, I see them, I wave at them, keep on going. Hey, I'm not gonna. Oh my God, you're so. Can I get it? Nah, I'm not doing that. That's just not me. you know. But yeah, keep going. But put a put a mark on the forehead of the men that sigh and cry for all the abominations, right? And Halloween is an abomination that be done in the midst thereof, and to the others, right? The ones who want to participate in Halloween. He said, in my hearing, go ye after through the city and smite. And smite means to kill. And ultimately, that's what the Lord's finna do on a large scale. You seen what happened in South Korea, and the bridge that happened in India that fell. The Lord is going to start killing multitude, right? Because the Lord said that that the slain of the Lord shall be many. Well, how do you kill? How can the slain of the Lord be many if he's not killing people in a multitude, right? The Lord said he shall have bodies from one end of the earth unto the other, right? How's the Lord going to do that unless he's doing it? So the prophecies are happening, man. The Lord is allowing you to see, man, from one end of the earth unto the other. The slain of the Lord shall be many, man. Let not your eyes spare. See, the Lord saying, man, don't even spare these people, right? Don't spare. Don't show any. And these are angels that he's speaking to. These are angels. Good angels and bad angels is what he's talking to. Neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young. You want to be an old ass man and out there with a fucking costume on, and you're fucking 57 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, and you got a costume on, everything's a joke. You're 40 years old, 50 years old, whatever it is. And young, you all the way down to a little baby. You got your baby in the costume, all this other nonsense. Yeah, because right there, both maids, right? Little young women, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old. Those are maids. Young maids, both maids and little children. See your little babies that you're putting in costumes, right? You're talking to the Lord, the power that told Solomon, or even just the Israelites, to go through when they were saying take over parts of these Hamitic people's land. He said, kill everything, even the animals. Kill the man, the woman, the children, and the animals. So what do you think the Lord is finna do pretty soon, man? And children, and little children, and women, but come not near any man, any man upon whom is the mark, right? The wah, man, that exemption, the Passover, right? Right? What is it called? Pardon. Right? Because when you go into that, the Passover, it basically goes into being pardoned. To pass over, you're pardoned, right? Because even when you go and say we're pardoned ways, it's you're going the opposite way, right? Instead of going to go kill you, the angels going the other way. It's pardon ways with you. You're pardoned. You're being, it's the wise. It's the Passover. You're being passed over, reserved, right? And begin at my sanctuary. Whoa, see, the Lord's dealing with you Israelites, you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. The Lord said, start with His sanctuary. Start with His people. You so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. The Lord's going to get to these other nations too. Oh, you best believe He is. But listen, He's starting at His sanctuary. He's starting at His house, right? Then they began at the ancient, right? You men, right? Whether you're in the truth or not in the truth, you're supposed to be the men. You're supposed to be the one who's supposed to, push forth the things of righteousness of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. Whether you know or you don't know, these are oaths that we made in the time of Moses, and the Lord's still going to require that of us. You know what I mean? Because you're an Israelite. You're still required, whether you know you are Israelite or not. You're still required to. Hey, man, the Lord is about business, man. The ancient men begin at the ancient men, which were before the house, right? And those ancient men were the men who said, yeah, Lord, we would do these things, right? And he said unto them, right, which are the angels. Wait, said unto them, defile the house and fill. Oh yeah. Because he said unto them, still speaking to the angels. He said unto them, defile the house and fill the courts with the slain. Because now your houses are defiled. So he said, yeah. Those mark them houses defiled and fill the courts with the slain. Fill the whole earth with the slain, man. Go ye forth. And they went forth and slew in the city, man. And that's really what's coming, right? And that's really what's happening. That's what happens every day. But it's going to be on a large scale real soon. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and close out with this one. This is Jeremiah 25:33. And the slain of Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, shall be many at that day, right? Because it's starting to increase. And we're coming to that day, man, real soon. So it's starting to, you know what I mean? It's going to be, hey, it's happening, man. From one end of the earth, even unto the other end of the earth, they shall not be lamented, nor gather, nor buried, right? And that's how fast, expeditiously the Lord is going to do it, man. You're not even going to have time to lament or bury your loved one. You know what I mean? The Lord's going to be dropping bodies in the thousands, maybe even millions at one time. They shall be dung upon the ground, man. You're not going to, hey, it's going to be so much death, man. It's going to be ridiculous, man. It's beyond true understanding, besides understanding, knowing who the Lord is, man. He's gonna get his respect, man. Right? He's the power. He calls us to make alive or make dead, man. He maketh rich, he maketh poor, right? So call all Yim Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Bashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Akim and the Four Winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect. The elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold. Shalom to you sisters, you Akwathium who listen and learn in silence with meekness under your husband, which is your spiritual leader. Hey, Abba Babal.